What torments us for a long time and makes us unhappy is often not the first pain, but the second pain. Say the person next to you made a lot of money on stocks. Some people are genuinely happy for them, that's great, congratulations. But some feel a deep pang of envy. Even though it has nothing to do with them, they stew for days, thinking, I should have done it too, I should have done it too. In psychology, the German word for this is Schadenfreude. It's like the old saying, when your cousin buys land, your stomach aches. Look around, and you'll find people who react in completely different ways to the same event. A new employee joins, and some are like wet firewood. No matter how much you scold them, their face doesn't change, and the next morning they greet you cheerfully. Others are like dry firewood. You barely say a word, and they burst into flames, and the next day they leave a single message, this job doesn't suit me, and don't come back. Where does this difference come from? Human beings feel pain not from the event itself, but from how they interpret it. The pain we suffer splits into two. The first pain is the actual event, the hot fire itself. You failed, you were rejected, you lost money. The second pain is the interpretation your mind attaches to that fact. I knew it, I'm no good. My life is over. I can never succeed now. What torments a person for a long time is usually this second pain, more than the first. In the same situation, some people take a learner's stance. How did they do that? Maybe I should learn how to invest steadily like that. The event that happened is exactly the same, but for the jealous person only pain remains, while the one who looks for something to learn moves forward, step by step. Confucius said, when three people walk together, one of them is surely my teacher. What makes us unhappy is not the event itself, but our interpretation of it. Second, unhappy people can't let the pain flow away, they hold on to it. When the brain keeps chewing over a bad experience, we call it rumination. The more you chew, the harder and thicker that brain circuit becomes. Something that happened 3 years ago, money you lost 3 years ago, and you ache over it for 3 whole years. The singer Insuna once said on a broadcast that she forgives the person who tormented her and doesn't think about them at all. Why? Because every time she thinks of that person, she receives the wound all over again. If you keep replaying in your head something that could have just passed by, your heart gets hurt as many times as you replay it. It's like living with a negative news channel on 24 hours a day. The anchor is you, the reporter is you, and even the person leaving hateful comments is you. Of course the mind grows exhausted. Winston Churchill, the British Prime Minister, suffered from severe depression. He called the depression that followed him all his life his black dog. He left a famous line, if you're going through hell, keep going. Don't struggle to chase the black dog away, even if you're passing through hell, just take it along with you. The more you try to erase pain, the more it keeps surfacing. Instead, keep doing what you have to do today, and whether the pain follows you or not, live on doing your own work. Third, unhappy people try to somehow change things they can't control. So what we have to do is separate what we can control from what we can't. Others criticizing you, what happened yesterday, what happened 3 years ago, you can't change those. What you can change is what you'll do today, the conversation with the person you meet now. Yet many people, worrying about something 3 years ago, never even touch what they could do right now. Healthy-minded people, on the other hand, let go of what they can't help, and put their energy into what they can. There's a famous psychology story. Stockdale, a U.S. officer who spent 8 years as a prisoner of war in Vietnam. He said the ones who couldn't endure and broke were those who held on to baseless hope. We'll be out by Christmas. By Easter the negotiations will go well and we'll be freed. Vague optimists. But that hope kept getting shattered, and the heart that hoped kept breaking, until they collapsed. He, on the other hand, thought, I can't control when I'll get out. But in the meantime, I'll focus on my health, eating well, my relationships, and managing my own mood. That's how he held on to the end. In short, accept what you can't change, and focus only on what you can, your own attitude. I enjoy watching travel channels, and recently one gave me an insight. A creator was giving advice to a friend. When the friend asked, "Should I aim for 100,000 or 1,000,000 subscribers?" he answered, "You can set that goal, but you might not reach it, and above all, you don't know when. Those goals are easy to give up on and collapse under." So the goal I set was to upload at least 3 videos every 2 weeks for the next year. Someone who focuses only on what he can do today. A realistic optimist. Next, simply knowing why you're anxious eases the anxiety. This is something meditators, psychologists, and psychiatrists all agree on completely. In psychology, it's called naming your emotion, emotional labeling. When you close your eyes to meditate, all sorts of thoughts pass by. The day's events, cringeworthy bad memories. Sticking a note on those thoughts, like this is anger, this is sadness, this is embarrassment, giving each a label and letting it flow by, that's meditation. What humans fear most isn't the pain itself, but the state of feeling an unpleasant emotion without knowing what it is. Like babies who wail in distress, and neither they nor their parents know if they're hungry or uncomfortable, so everyone panics. But just knowing the identity of the emotion brings peace. When you name an emotion, the brain's alarm shuts off. This has been shown in brain imaging studies. The moment you put it into words, I'm anxious right now, the amygdala, which handles fear, calms down, and the prefrontal cortex, which handles reason, judges, it's because I have a test tomorrow and I'm not fully prepared. Zen meditation and mindfulness meditation work the same way. You've heard that meditation is good for treating depression, that exercise is good, and that if all else fails you take antidepressants. These 3 share one common effect on the brain, strengthening the prefrontal cortex, so you can control your emotions. In Pixar's Inside Out, when the emotions in the head are an unidentified blob, it's terrifying and you don't know what to do. But the moment you say, this is sadness, this is anxiety, you can handle it. The main character, overwhelmed by fear of failing, breaks down as if a storm is raging, and then, the moment she admits, this is the anxiety of fearing I'll fail. I'll do my best, and if it doesn't work, so be it, the anxiety settles. That movie is practically a psychiatry textbook. And remember this, anxiety is not a prophet. It's a fire alarm. When anxiety rises, we think, danger. But is it really a prophecy? A home fire alarm doesn't go off after the house has burned down, it rings when smoke rises, telling you to put out the fire. Anxiety is the same. Its ringing doesn't mean your life is over. Rather, it's an alarm telling you to look now. The problem is that when the alarm rings, we scream along with it. My life is over. What do I do? And then that prophecy fulfills itself. We call it a self-fulfilling prophecy. To keep that from happening, don't scream along when the alarm rings. Say, the anxiety alarm went off. What's the cause, and check the cause. Once you know the cause of an emotion, that emotion, which could have become a monster, becomes just a task to solve. Not, I'm vaguely anxious, but I'm anxious because of tomorrow's presentation. What I really fear isn't the presentation, it's being embarrassed. Get to that point, and the anxiety drops from 100 to 70, below 50. In other words, it becomes something solvable. So when I counsel people, I first ask the basics. Are you sleeping well? How much coffee do you drink? Is there conflict in your life these days? Someone comes in for anxiety or insomnia, and it turns out they drink 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day. I'd love it if you asked yourself these questions too. Finally, let me talk about when it feels like nothing will make your life work. In these moments, many people expect some grand answer. The morning routines of successful people, the strong mindset of the top 1%. But when you feel your life isn't working, the first thing to do is, surprisingly, not grand. It's very small. Just restore a little order to your daily life. Do you know what it's like when people with severe depression start to get better? They can taste food they couldn't taste yesterday, and they notice, the sky is blue. Regaining that small sensation is the beginning of recovery. The first method is to deliberately create small successes. For the brain to gain confidence, frequent small successes help. Starting today, no late-night snacks, a 20-minute walk every day, lying down before midnight. Nothing much, right? But you're probably not doing it. Even doing one of these easy things, the brain remembers that small success is your success. Passing the bar exam or resisting a late-night snack, the brain remembers both equally as success. People don't gain confidence by succeeding big, they gain it by repeating small successes. The NBA's Stephen Curry doesn't suddenly sink three-pointers in a game. Alone, every day, with the same motion, he repeats it countless times, and there's a sense of small success carved into his body. Life is the same. No one suddenly becomes mentally strong one day. Repeating small actions and recovering the sense that I can control my life a little, that's self-efficacy. The second tip is to feel good moods often. Focus not on intensity, but on frequency. Many people think of happiness as one big hit that makes you feel like you'll die of joy. The lottery, a promotion, a total turnaround. But for mental health, the frequency of happiness often matters more than its intensity. A good cup of coffee, a blue sky on a walk, a refreshing morning after deep sleep, a short joke shared with someone. These build the mind's immunity. In Pixar's Soul, the main character searches for life's grand purpose, but what ultimately makes life worth living turns out to be small moments, a slice of pizza, a leaf blowing in the wind, sounds in the street. The meaning of life isn't in grand achievement, but in the sense that today I'm alive and doing okay. Someone who can find joy in small things isn't a shallow person, but a person with a clear mind, high emotional resolution. Let me talk a bit more about sleep. Sleep isn't just rest. It's time for the body to rest while the emotions are sorted out. During sleep, the brain classifies the day's stimuli and calms the emotions. That's why, only after sleeping well, does the morning begin with a peaceful mind. If you don't sleep properly, yesterday's emotions carry over into today. As you fall asleep, your core body temperature drops about half a degree to a degree below usual, and as night deepens, melatonin is released, giving your body the signal that it's time to sleep. But if the room is too hot, the body's temperature won't drop, and that's why you can't sleep on a sweltering night. So making yourself sleep well is an act of respecting yourself. It's taking care of yourself tonight so you can live tomorrow well. When you feel your life isn't working out, the truth is often that the rhythm of your mind has collapsed. Sleep breaks down, thoughts multiply, emotional control slips. Then you can't do even the small daily things, and you start speaking harshly to yourself. And then your life really does grow bleaker. It's okay to be a little more generous with yourself. In the Belgian author's fairy tale The Bluebird, two siblings search for the bluebird that brings happiness, wandering into the past, the future, all over the world. In the end they can't find it and return home, only to discover the bluebird was in the cage in their own house all along. When we feel life isn't working, we try to find the answer far away, outside, in something bigger. But people who live brightly know the answer is close by. And if it still doesn't work? Rest for a moment. The mind can't just keep running either. Sometimes you have to stop and do a little maintenance. People whose lives go well aren't lucky every single day, they're people who, when they wobble and rattle, know how to look at themselves and do some maintenance. And the start is very small. Sleep well. Eat well. Walk a little. And don't speak too harshly to yourself. I hope something good happens in your heart today, too.